Agua. All right, we are rolling. Welcome to another episode of FitPet Boston Talks. My name is Leah Lodato. I'm the host of the show. Today, I am here with Alex Thompson, owner of Tailwind Dog Training. Hey, Alex.
Hey, Leah. How are you?
Yeah, you almost called me Lori.
I almost called you Lori.
You've been listening to the podcast
I
too
have
long.
I have been. I became a big fan. I did.
I actually begged her to come down with me and do this because she is really funny. And
She is.
She is very talented at talking.
Agreed.
But we're swamped with April vacation, so.
Such is life as a dog trainer.
It's tough to get away with your spouse.
Agreed.
Do you find that the same for you? You and what's your girlfriend's name?
Rachel. Yeah, definitely.
Yep.
I definitely agree with that for sure. It can be difficult, especially being in this business, but you know, we don't get away too often, and we like it here. So,
yeah. We are. I am too. Like
Yeah.
I'm totally relaxed at my house, but we are
Yep.
due for a vacation for sure.
Oh yeah.
All right. Anyway, this is episode number 53, FitPet Boston Talks. If you're new to the podcast, what I do is interview local Boston area dog handling professionals, and we just chit chat about our lives, our dogs, and our careers. This is not an endorsement of any training style or even an individual. It's just a safe space to talk about your life, how you got into dog training, what inspires you, and the goal is to kind of connect dog handling pros with potential clients, and it also has made a nice little referral network for those that have been on the podcast. So if you've been on, I just want to extend a heartfelt thank you. If you're interested in coming on the podcast, just shoot me a message. You can reach me at leah@fitpetboston.com. And I just wanted to take another moment and say thank you to bettervet.com. So bettervet.com offers a promotional code through the podcast. If you use the code FPB75, you can save $75 on your first visit. BetterVet is a mobile veterinary service, so they show up at your house and take care of whatever you may need. And if you do use the service, please send me a message and let me know how it goes, because I'm always interested in hearing whether or not people are satisfied. So without further ado, Alex, thank you for sitting down with me today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I know this is
Before we get started, actually,
Yeah,
I wanted to say one of my clients uses Better Vet, and they absolutely love it. And I've been waiting to tell you that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You always talk about it on the podcast, and I hear you say that, you know, to reach out if anybody has used it, and they absolutely love it. And I trained her dog earlier today.
Oh, cool.
And I told them, I was like, I'm going to be on this podcast, and one of their sponsors is Better Vet. Like, what do you guys think about it? They couldn't have given it a better review.
Awesome.
They love it. Absolutely love it.
Yeah, one of my clients uses Better Vet as well, and she's been pretty happy. They haven't had to do anything where the dog has to leave the van.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if your client has or not.
I
Not
think
even
they
know.
just go inside their house.
Oh, okay.
They go straight to their home and right in and do the whole exam there.
Inside.
Yep. They've got a little
awesome.
scale that they bring. They've got it all. It's
Awesome.
just a vet and a tech.
Awesome.
And it's great because this dog would shut down and just lose her mind at the vet. So
Yeah.
that's, I think, the best option for it.
Yep.
So
Yeah, I agree. It's nice to be able to be in the comfort of your home
definitely.
for some things.
Yep.
For other things, you obviously have to go and get care in person because they're more complicated.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, they love it.
good. Awesome. That's
Glowing
great
review.
to hear. Woohoo. All right. Bettervet.com. If you need a vet, call them up. I know
There you go.
everybody is swamped at the vet these days, so
Facts.
it's hard to get an appointment.
Mm-hmm.
It's been rough because we added a new dog, my little Rhonda,
Yeah,
and I was
little
like,
Rhonda.
do we even want to do this? Because it might be hard to get an appointment. So I actually called like 2 months prior to us even getting her.
Yeah,
to talk
that's smart.
Laurie's gone to the same vet for like 10 plus years.
Yep.
But I just wanted to talk to him and be like, hey, what are appointments looking like these days?
Right.
And
I
they
want to
were
get
like,
way in line.
yeah. And they were like, oh yeah, no problem. Lodatos, you practically pay the rent at this place.
Right. You can come on in for sure.
Exactly. So Alex, what I usually like to do with people is just kind of talk about your origin story, how you got started in dog training, what it is that you're doing now, but really how you got your foot in the door and what piqued your interest that spun into Tailspin Dog Training. See what I did there?
Good one. Yeah. Oop, I could tell that
You're
one was
good.
too loud.
Yeah, no, you're good.
So I mean, classic story. Stop me if you've heard this one before. Always been interested in animals and dogs growing up as a kid. We won't go down that too much because everyone's heard that before. But I always kind of had it in my mind that I wanted to work with animals in some way. Just really wasn't sure what that meant or what that looked like growing up. And there wasn't, I guess, many options for me out there. If I looked harder and looked back, I'm sure there were, but only knowing what you know, you only know what you know. So long story short, I was working just at South Shore Hospital up the road, just kind of getting by, not really knowing what to do after high school. But like I said, always wanted to do something with dogs. So I heard about a college called ABC, Animal Behavior College. Have you heard of that? It's the like online thing.
Yep.
They offered like a vet assistant course, dog training course, like grooming course, something else like that. And I really wanted to know more about just animals in general. So I thought the vet assistant course would be nice. And I always like had it in the back of my mind. It's funny looking back on it now that like dog training class, I was like, who needs to take a dog training class? You don't need to do something like that. That's easy. That's easy. Why would I go to school to become a dog trainer? And like, keep in mind, like I hadn't trained dogs before. You know what I mean? I just had dogs that like I quote unquote trained in the way that made sense in my mind at the time. Right. And so I always just kind of put that on the back burner. Oh, it's easy. Like, I don't want to do that. Like, I guess I felt like I was supposed to do something more or quote unquote better, you know?
You mean career-wise?
Yeah, I guess. And
so when you saw that drop down that said, dog trainer, you just said, well, that's not really a thing, or I'd rather do something more professional, like
yeah, or like I don't know, maybe like inadvertently I thought like, why would I be a dog trainer? That's dumb. Or not dumb, but just like
I hear you.
Why would I don't know, choose
it's not
that?
A thing.
Why would I choose that if there's like vet assistant and that could become like vet tech and then maybe a vet or something like that, you know?
Right.
And like I said, just fumbling through my after years of high school for the first couple of years after that, you're just like kind of grabbing anything. Cause I knew obviously like college wasn't an option for me. I didn't know what the hell I wanted to do. So anyway, took that course, went through it. It was fine. I didn't love it. And it wasn't until after like my externship, like at an actual vet's office, that I was like, I don't picture myself doing this at all. Like I just couldn't. I was like, this isn't it. And it sucks to have to go through that to realize that's what it takes to realize you don't want to do it. But oh well, that's how it went down.
Yeah.
And then after that, like I said, still working at the hospital, really wanted to just like do something. And I remember my girlfriend had Facebook at the time. I didn't. And she sent me something. She's like, oh, like this doggy daycare in Marshfield where I lived is hiring. You should go and apply. And I was like, that's a great idea. Let's do that. So I went like either that day, the next day, and I just walked in and I was like, yeah, I just saw you guys were applying and I'm looking to, I saw you guys are hiring. I'm looking to apply. And the lady at the desk, she just goes, all right, what's your experience with dogs? And I was like, nothing really, but I have one. And she was just like, all right. She kind of went over some things and I was hired. It was pretty simple. And of course, I think I'm just going to sit there and play with dogs all day, right? Long story short, not the case at all. Not the case at all. And like even looking back, I'm like, wow, there was so much work that had to be done and I just wasn't doing any of it, but I didn't know at the time, you know? That was maybe 4 or 5 years ago, something like that. Would have been 24, 25 at the time. Anyway, kind of went through that and I was just like, this is fine. I was doing that part-time, but I kind of felt like there was something more. Like I was like, okay, I like this daycare aspect and it's cool to be with this big pack of dogs, but I feel like there's something more. And I remember just driving by, going to the doctor's appointment one time. And I just drove by a building and it said name of the place. I won't say it, is hiring. And I just kind of walked in. I thought it was like just like a pet supply store. Turns out it was a daycare boarding place. I walked in, not even expecting to apply. And I was like, oh, I saw you guys are hiring. I just didn't even know what this place was. I just came in and took a look around. I thought you were a pet supply store, but I can see you're not. And the person at the front desk was like, yeah, we're hiring. We're looking for people who kind of have experience in daycare though, at least for like a year. And I was like, I have experienced at least a year. Long story short, they ended up hiring me. And that is where I learned a lot more about just like behavior and just how to handle dogs in general.
Mm-hmm.
Really good place to work. And like that was something more I was looking for that I didn't know was out there, I guess.
Right.
Because I didn't know. Because like I said, just kind of fumbling through that first one. I was like, this is fun and all, but like we're just kind of not really doing much here.
Right.
And I kind of like there's got to be something better. I'm having a good time, but like my brain is I need more, I feel like.
Right.
So the second one I worked at, really good spot. That's where I learned a lot about, like I said, behavior, handling, how to like appropriately read dog body language and apply it correctly, and just, you know, basic training things like how to work a slip lead and just get dogs in and out of crates and kennels, and simple things that like you don't even think about. Because I mean, again, growing up as a kid, if you used a crate, you're just going to throw that thing up and your yellow lab's going to come storming out and you're going to be like, this is great. So anyway, the more I started working there, realized it was great, and that's kind of what I really wanted to do. So I figured that maybe now there's some way I could make a kind of career out of this, but I didn't really, again, know what that was. I was just at the daycare, really enjoying it, really enjoying my time there. This was a better daycare than the one before. Anyway, kind of fast forward a few years, I worked at a few more, and I realized that like what was happening at them wasn't the greatest. It was kind of just dogs running around and getting into fights and scuffles, not all the time, but just not exactly the environment I wanted to be in or the environment I wanted to see dogs in. Again, it was great fun, but it was stressful. Very, very stressful thing to be in, and realized that there's probably something more I could be doing.
What exactly were you finding to be stressful?
Mainly that the dogs, the people who worked at these places and kind of were running them, and I really don't want to like throw anybody under the bus.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
It's just, I felt like, I'm like, you guys don't seem to care about what's actually happening here. You seem to just be packing this place full of dogs so you can collect the next paycheck or get more money, and not really care about, are these dogs actually fulfilled? Like, yeah, they may be tired.
Well-being, yeah.
They may be tired at the end of the day, but it's because they've just been running around in circles playing with each other for 7-8 hours, and like no breaks were taken. And like, that's a very overwhelming environment to be in. Yeah.
I also find that the more you learn about dogs and dog behavior and how they operate and what they do find fulfilling, and whether or not they're uncomfortable or whether they're comfortable or whether or not they're saying, hey, I need some space.
Yep.
The more you learn about that, when you see it not happening, you have to be a very shut off person to not care.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. Right. Because there's a difference between just not knowing, but then knowing and being like, whatever, just like, who cares? I'm not going to do anything about it. Just get some more dogs in here. I got to pay rent.
Right.
Which, you know, people have the reasons. But so I just tried to focus on what I could get out of what I knew.
Right.
And how to apply it and succeed on my own. So, I mean, long story short, I ended up just kind of forsaking daycares altogether, being like, I don't want to work in these crazy environments that are just chock full of dogs, a lot going on. Nobody seems to really care or know. And I can't even have like good conversations with the employees because they either, again, don't care or don't know. So I ended up just kind of starting my own thing and doing a little, I call it structured daycare. I mean, I try to keep it structured as best I can I do it at actually my mom's house where I grew up, and she was nice enough to let me use her yard for a while now.
It's awesome.
It is. I couldn't be done without her. Really couldn't. I mean, You just saw my backyard. There's no way that's happening. Yeah,
the backyard goes directly into pond water.
Yep.
It's just beautiful to look at, but
not great to swim in.
No, not great.
You don't want to go in there.
And I would say half the dogs that I hike, I'm just trying to keep them from going into the water.
Yeah.
A lot of the time.
Probably a lot of labs.
Well, I have a lot, I know this is a little tangent, but I have a lot of dogs that have expensive groomings. And if you know, and it's like a Portuguese water dog. It's like, how do I keep him from going into the water?
Right. It's in his name.
Exactly.
It's literally in his name.
Yeah, exactly. So I know the struggle of, I throw them on a leash and walk by the water. It just takes an extra minute to do. It's not bad. I feel bad because they're not having fun, but the long run would be very stinky.
Yep.
And
And that groom is no more. Absolutely not.
The $200 groom just went down.
That's not cheap. That's not cheap.
No. So anyway, so you're able to go to your mom's and work with the dogs on a more individual level, would you say?
Yeah. I mean, we do typically keep all the dogs out most of the time. We don't really try to single anybody out, but I have been vetting the dogs that have been going there for a while now, or at least trying to get the right dogs there.
Right.
Like I'm not just going to take any dog because that's what the last places did, and I didn't want to do that.
Right. So can you talk a little bit about vetting dogs? Like, what are you looking for when you build up the group?
So you definitely want some stable dogs, no doubt. And I do have a few of those now. But as far as just like who I'm looking for would be somebody that would benefit from being in a group of dogs and could improve upon it from doing so. And definitely looking for the clients that like understand, like this isn't like your dog's not going to be with like 30 dogs and just partying down all the time. Like we're going to be hanging out, taking walks, doing some training, crating for some rest every day. Everybody's going to have nice chill time. Like we're going to be doing things like that and not just playing all the time. They will be playing for sure, but we'll be working on other things too. And as long as, you're okay with that and you don't think that this is just going to be free for all, then you can come on in. But again, obviously it depends on the dog. I don't really take too many aggressive dogs for obvious reasons, but just looking for good dogs that know how to play and can handle a mild amount of stress being within a decent sized group of dogs. We have anywhere from 5 to 10 a day, and I keep it that small on purpose.
Yeah, that's a very reasonable, solid, healthy number, I think.
Yeah, it's been working out for sure. And when it was just me, it was tough to keep my eyes on them most of the time, but that's why, again, I keep it small for a reason. I don't want to overwhelm myself.
Right. It's funny that you say it's tough for you to keep your eyes on them when I'm sure at the other daycares before the ratio is.
Yeah, that's a good point. I never thought of that. But there's also more people on the floor. But sometimes, like 30, 40 dogs.
Yeah.
Like, Jesus, where's everyone's head at?
Yeah.
I have no idea.
It's a crazy kind of cultural revolution that we've gone through with the doggy daycares.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's something to be. I think some dogs do really well in that environment.
Yeah.
But I don't know what the numbers would be or what you would think the percentage of dog, but I would say like maybe 15% of dogs total would do well in a daycare type of environment.
And actually enjoy it.
And yes, exactly.
That's the most important part. Like I can send you a photo of, your little Pomeranian in the corner, stress panting and call it a smile.
Right.
And, be like, look how much fun your dog's having. Meanwhile, they've been sitting there for the last 5 hours screaming to go home.
Right.
Not actually, but like I said, the stress panting.
Right.
Just look at that dog. You're like, they're not having fun.
Right.
They do not want to be here.
And I think these type of conversations are really important too, because again, not to crap on traditional daycare style dog facilities, because I do think there are dogs that do well, but there's other options. I think that's the message that I get from almost everybody that I talk to on this podcast too, is that, there are other options for care if you need it.
Yeah.
And
most people just don't know.
Yeah.
That's the hardest part.
Yeah. You just hit it on the head. Most people just don't know. I think it's, again, kind of like a cultural revolution, right? Where people just kind of assume, oh my God, like dogs just want to be with other dogs all day long and play and romp around together and have a good time. And then when they come home, they'll be like totally tired. On paper, that's
a wonderful
idea. Sense.
Yep.
Like 100% sense. I would not discredit anybody from thinking that that's cool. It makes total sense. But
I thought it was cool.
Yeah, totally. But then when you start to actually look at what's happening, I think that there might be better options. And I have had folks on the podcast. I have a good friend, Robin, and she owns a daycare, traditional style daycare in Newton, but she's really selective about the dogs that she brings in.
Right. And that's
And
smart.
she doesn't have dog fights. But she also operates where they're just tons of dogs. It's the city, you know what I mean? So she can say no.
Yeah.
If
and have no problem.
And
getting
have
the
no
client
problem.
again.
Exactly. So,
Right.
you know, I know that it might be a touchy subject for some people, but all I can say is if your dog does go to daycare and the daycare is saying your dog doesn't love it here, don't take it personally.
Yes.
Find another option. Find somebody like Alex or myself or Sam, who was on previously.
Yes.
There are more boutique style tailored options for you to fit whatever your dog needs. Because I'm sure both Wally and my dog Ruben would not do well in a
No, certainly
traditional
not.
daycare
No. And
environment.
if it's more money, it's probably worth the more money.
Yeah, great point too.
That's what people don't understand is like, yeah, it's going to be more, but you get what you pay for.
Mm-hmm.
If you're paying $25 or whatever a day to go to this daycare and they come back, you know, with all these other horrible behaviors or terrible stories that the people there are telling you, then again, you get what you pay for.
Yeah.
And again, I don't want to, not trying to crap on anybody or nothing, but
I just think that there are dogs that perform really well in those type of environments. And a lot of times as trainers, those might not even be the type of dogs that we even see because we're working with dogs that might have a problem.
Right.
You know, so yeah, I think that that's a good message. I did have some leading questions going into this interview,
Sure.
and you said that there was one that kind of stuck with you a little bit. So I did want to ask you before we get into any more nuts and bolts of anything, what is the most important thing to you with regard to training a dog?
yeah. So I had some time to think about this, and I feel like this answer's kind of been beaten to death recently, at least from my perspective, but relationship. If you don't have a good relationship with your dog, then the training you're going to try to do won't be nearly as good or as strong or even matter really. You can, train your dog all damn day, but if the time in between you're not training isn't that meaningful or fun or just like intentional, that's the word I'm looking for, then, I feel like what's the point?
Right.
I don't know. I'd rather have a well-behaved dog with a good relationship than a well-trained dog who I kind of like.
Right.
I mean, he's all right. Yeah, he can heal all damn day and be focused healing around every damn thing, but he's all right.
Yeah. Don't really like him.
Yeah, right. You have to like your dog. You can love your dog, but I think it's more important to like your dog.
Right.
Big difference there.
Right.
At least
yeah.
I think.
Talk about it. What's the difference?
I mean, everybody loves their dog, right? Unconditionally. But there's almost always something that they don't like that, he's a great dog, but he, killed a family of rabbits and bit my sister yesterday. Okay, well, what do you like about it? I mean, you love him, right? Oh, I love him, but I just can't stand when we go on a walk and he pulls me everywhere. All right, well, it sounds like you love your dog, but you don't like doing many of the things with him.
Right.
So I love my dog and I like my dog.
Right.
Everything we do together is amazing.
Right.
Even just sitting here on the couch. He's right over there, just snoozing away on your equipment.
Yeah, he's sleeping on my bag.
Yeah, sorry about that.
It's okay.
You must like the way Ruben, Buddha, and Rhonda smell.
Rhonda smell, yeah.
He likes it.
Oh, man. I think that's such a great point. I was thinking about the question myself, and I looked at it from a perspective of training a team. So if I'm training somebody with their dog, because that's how we train, like we do a lot of private classes.
Yeah.
And we do some day training as well. And I'm always training the dogs that I have on the pack walks and stuff. But, if I'm able to make an impact on the owner, like I know that the dog is going to be better. And I think that to me is really important because if I'm only focused on the dog, which I always do if I'm uncomfortable. If I'm uncomfortable in a training class, it just the focus all goes on the dog because I know that I'll be able to be successful. But in a really good training class, if I can focus on the handler and just make sure that I'm making some sort of impact and I can see the wheels turning, they're understanding how to improve the relationship, I know
That's
that
much
it's
better.
going to be, okay, they're going to walk away and maybe something is going to change here.
Right.
And, to me, like seeing that progress is important, because I don't want to see the same dog week to week.
Right.
I want to see you did something. Give me something, baby.
Exactly. And like you said, you don't want to see the same dog week to week. And if you're not, that speaks to you being a good trainer, right?
Right.
Because that means they kind of don't need your help anymore. And that's the goal, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously we need business and whatnot, and there's not going to be no shortage of that anytime soon, ever.
Yeah.
As long as dogs and people exist at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. And yeah, if they don't come back and don't see him again, great work.
Yeah. No complaints.
No.
We're good to go.
Yep.
Yeah. We were just talking earlier because Laurie had a bunch of inquiries that came in a year ago. And you get inquiries and sometimes you never hear from the person.
Sure.
It's not like everybody that contacts you books a class.
No.
But like a whole year has gone by and they're reaching back out, and it's almost been like happening more frequently. And so she's like really scratching her head, and I'm just like, I know what happens in those situations where the behavior is like they don't like it, but they don't hate it.
Yeah.
And then it just goes to all out. Like, I can't stand this dog.
Right. Right. And that's not a fun feeling to have.
No, it's not a fun feeling.
You want to get a dog so that you can like it and enjoy being with it.
Right.
So when that's not happening, yeah, like I said, you might love your dog, but do you like your dog?
Yeah.
Do you actually do you say like, let's go for a walk? Or are you like, God damn it, I have to go for a walk right now. I really hope no dogs are out there because they're going to react. And I hate when that happens. And you just go down that spiral.
Yeah, very interesting point. I take that for granted because I like to walk. I'm just like I'm a weird person. I just like wandering around.
Yeah.
So if I can have a dog with me, like, great, this is amazing. This is better than it was before.
Right. And it always looks less weird when you have a dog, right? Like you can just be, trudging through the woods and just be like, I'm just taking a walk. And you're like, yeah, all right, sure. But if you have a dog, you're like, oh yeah, they're just going with their dog.
Right.
I mean, dogs just make everything a little less creepy, I guess.
So what's your favorite activity with Wally here?
I just really enjoy going for walks and taking him off leash in the woods and just kind of roaming around.
Yeah.
That's what we like to do.
Do you have a plot of woods that's close by here?
Yeah, actually right down the end of the street. We
Nice.
walk down there just about every day. There's a real big park, baseball field and everything. We've been going there since we've got him, and little stretch of woods, not long at all. It's a perfect little romping spot for him.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's a good time.
So he stays out of your water. He won't go in.
He won't go in. He's
Yeah.
gone in a couple times by accident. He kind of fell in sometimes. Like he's chasing a dog and just
chasing muskrats.
Yep, and just fell in. It stinks, man.
Yeah.
It's terrible. I had one of my family dogs here a couple weeks ago, actually. We just came back from a walk. He's like 10 years old. He loves the water. Had him out back on the leash, and I just unclipped him. I was like, he's fine. Second I unclipped him, he just made a beeline right to the water and just did one lap, and I'm calling him back and everything, and he's like, I don't care. I'm going in that water, and it's going to be great. And I'm like, you're gross.
Yep.
I had trusted you, and you just betrayed me immediately. How dare you? But he made me pay for it.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, you got to have a good hose, kiddie pool,
Yes.
shampoo.
Yes. Had that all on deck.
Yeah, I know.
All of it.
I've taken dogs back to the house before and just been like, my day just got longer.
Oh, yep. That's the worst part.
But it's good that I have it, because I know that there are some walkers that just don't have the ability to, to do that. We're good.
You're good?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll help you out.
Oh, sorry. I was just.
No, you're not. Oh, no, that's.
I was, yeah. Just
I
adjusting.
didn't know if it was the microphone was falling on you or if
No,
you were
no,
just
no, we're good.
readjusting. Good.
Readjusting.
So for you, I watch some of your Instagram stuff.
Yeah.
You do like rollerblading, skateboarding, stuff like that with the dogs.
Sometimes.
Or if they're into it.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes I just sometimes strap on the skates and see who's up for it. It's not something I do quite often, really.
Yeah.
But just because it can be dangerous.
Oh, totally.
Wicked dangerous.
Yeah.
I can barely stop on those things without a dog. And if one's pulling me, and we're going down.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have before. It's fun.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I tried to get Rhonda up on the skateboard and she's too fearless.
Yeah.
So she got up on it the other day. She's 14-week-old black lab puppy, but she
Cute.
jumped on it. Things slid out from her and she just went flying belly. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So I have to really set her up for success with putting my feet on both sides and just making sure that there's not going to be some sort of crazy accident, because she just doesn't care. Whereas my other dog is much more careful about his footing and, you know, he'd survive without me. So I can do stuff like that with him, and he's not, you know, a risk, but she just is. She's crazy. Yeah. The first time, like, she came home, she just went right down the stairs.
That sounds about right.
8 weeks old.
That sounds about right.
I'm like, okay, don't do that again.
Yeah. So
we just got
the
you.
Dog we have. That's how it's going to go.
I don't want to kill you.
Great.
So can we talk a little bit about your mentors? So I know that you went from, you know, kind of working in a doggy daycare environment, probably learning a lot through osmosis as far as dog behavior, what they like, what they don't like, how they're interacting with each other. But did you connect with anybody personally, or even, I know online we have a lot of resources these days, especially if you have the ability to actually train a dog and have somebody or a resource online, it can almost be pretty fluid. But who are the people that kind of help you or inspire you?
So yeah, good question. Like I said earlier, that one daycare I worked at, which I learned actually a lot about how to handle dogs and just good basic things to know if you want to start working with dogs. They taught me a lot just from their experience. Really good people there. I owe quite a bit to them, to be honest. But I remember we had like a Facebook group for just the whole staff to just talk about the night and what needs to be done. And every now and then one of the managers would just post like some sort of Facebook video or some training video and just be like, comment what you learned, something simple like that. And I remember her posting something from Vermont Dog Boarding and Behavior. You know who that is?
Mm-hmm.
Ian Grant.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember the video was about like, I forget exactly like the title of it, but it was something about like, is your dog controlling your actions or are you controlling your dog's? And it was talking about like, if a dog came up and like brought his toy up to you and like nudged you and you just took it and threw it, and that dog's going to continuously do that. And then that dog learns how to kind of control that situation instead of you being in, I guess, control of like the play.
Right.
And I remember I was like, that's so simple to think about. How have I never like considered that? You know what I mean? And then I just thought that was really cool. And again, I'm obviously in this like wormhole now because I'm learning all about this like dog behavior and learning how things work. So I'm like in that mindset of like, oh my God, like there's more to learn out there. Like obviously there is, but again, I didn't really know or try. And like, I mean, what am I going to do? Just Google like good daycares and like, you know, and see what happens. But yeah, so I started following him and seeing a lot of his stuff and just really enjoying what he was putting out. I really like the way he works. Just very calm, very meaningful and intentional in the way he moves and handles dogs. And especially in the daycare setting, he had a really cool daycare going on. So he's definitely one of the mentors as far as like a professional goes. I actually did two workshops with him last year. One at a daycare in Ohio, which was really nice. It was like a daycare movement body language workshop.
Oh,
really cool. Really cool thing. He just went to someone else's daycare and just kind of pretty much worked and talked about like just a whole bunch of stuff. Obviously can't give away what you learned.
Yeah, totally.
But and then another one was at his facility in Vermont, hosted by Oregon Tails, if you know who they are.
Mm-mm.
It's like a dog ranch up in Oregon, and they have this thing called the Gentle Method, where they just kind of go through how they train their dogs, and that was the workshop. It was like a 3-day workshop to go and just kind of learn what they do and how to work with it. And that was being held at his place.
So Vermont, Oregon Tails. Sorry.
Oregon Tails. Yeah, I went to the workshop. It was in October, and it was with Wally, which I really enjoyed because I was excited to bring him. He was only 6 months old at the time, and I really was just happy to be working him at an actual workshop. Really only the second one I've been to. That was great. Really learned a lot there and had a good time. And it was cool too because Ian wasn't actually hosting the workshop. It was just at his place, but he decided to be part of it as well. So he was just like a student along with us. And that's what I really liked about him. He's just a very humble person. You can see it in the work he does. You can see it in the videos and the content he posts. And I just resonated with that. I'm like, it makes sense to me. I understand like why he's doing these things he's doing and how he's working with these dogs instead of like to me, dog training always kind of seemed like just a very militant or like strict
Formal
regime.
thing.
Yeah, exactly. And that just wasn't like fun to me. Like that doesn't interest me in the ways of dog training. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I really liked just how he was just intentionally living and working with the dogs and not making them do anything they didn't want to do, and just kind of learning that this dog might just enjoy sitting in the corner at daycare and maybe mingling a bit. That's fine. I'm going to let them do that. And I'm going to make that opportunity. I'm going to make that happen for them however I can and make it their best experience instead of like forcing this dog to go out and play when he doesn't want to.
Right.
Like we can tell he doesn't want to. Look at him.
Right.
So he's been a big inspiration, and it was really nice to actually work with him and meet him and talk to him. And I still sometimes will, talk to him through Instagram, and we go back and forth sometimes. Good guy. Any other professional mentors? Lynn Boki, you know who Lynn Boki is?
I don't.
He's really good. I really enjoy him. He's very big in like dog psychology, and he's kind of like Ian as well, just very calm and intentional, and just everything he does has a reason. He doesn't do anything without, having a good reason to do so. I guess it's hard to explain kind of what he does, and I don't want to explain a work someone else is doing when I'm not doing their work,
Right.
So,
but the message I think I'm picking up here too is there's a type of dog training that we think of when you were talking about the militant formal style, which is the things that I do.
Sure.
Right. So like when I met my wife, her dog Rippa was pristine.
Yep.
I mean, obedience, intelligence. But she could do fun things like go get you a beer out of the fridge.
Yeah.
But she truly enjoyed doing that. She liked to work.
Right.
She was food motivated. She was toy motivated. She really loved my wife. And then, and when I got my dog, he doesn't enjoy doing any of those things.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? So I spend a lot of time in formal obedience settings with the other trainers that we spend time with, and Laurie, and like I would call her my mentor, but Liz Cleaves up at Auntie Dog in Tewksbury has been really, I would say influential, but if I have a question, I ask her and she answers it. That's basically what it comes down to. And she has, a much more like kind of straight line approach to and anything business related to, which I think is important when you're running your business, to have somebody that, you can, you have a problem, like, hey, what do I do here?
Right. You can depend on them.
It's not always easy.
Yeah.
But the environment, and then like Laurie does a lot of like, shits and stuff, a lot of AKC stuff.
Yeah.
And but a lot of dogs just aren't good at that type of thing, and they don't like it. So I think that when we think of a dog trainer, we kind of think of a protection dog trainer or somebody that competes with their dog, and we use that as like a measuring stick. And
right, or somebody at Petco who's just like, sit, stay, down, come.
Yeah, exactly. Like the simplest things that your dog very, very well may be able to do, but as soon as they get out in the parking lot, they're chasing cars.
Right, exactly. And trying to find like something in between that.
Yes.
Like, is there something between Petco and Shitzen?
Yeah.
Absolutely there is.
And then in between that, it's like, okay, there's your obedience, but then there's other dogs that aren't good at it. So like, what is going to blow their hair back?
Right.
And find that thing. And like you said, even if it's relaxing, or like if that's like legit what your dog likes doing, and they're not motivated by play, or they're not motivated by this, that, and I mean, most dogs are, but motivated by something. But I think having a more open-minded approach to dog trainers, and also their legitimacy as a dog trainer, and to be able to say like, okay, this dog trainer doesn't necessarily compete with their dogs, but look at all this other cool stuff that they're doing.
Right. Look how simply they can live with their dog without having any real issues. Take them for a walk, go outside, and just not have to really worry about any sort of problem.
Yeah. And not have to be like constantly yelling at them.
That's I think that's what I was trying to say. Yes, exactly. I mean, because nobody wants to live like that. How fun is that?
Well, yeah, like when I got here, we're at Alex's place, but Wally just meandered outside and came up to the car with us and went out back, and you don't have to worry about him getting hit by a car
No,
or
he's not
running
going
across
up
the
those
street
steps,
or
no.
going to say hi to the neighbor's dog.
Nope.
You know, if you have a dog like that, you have a trained dog. Like
Right.
your dog's trained.
Right.
You know, and that is what it is, because that's 99% of what he's going to do in his life. Like maybe
Exactly.
he'll get a rally novice title someday if you do something like that with him.
Maybe. Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
but the amount of time that you do that or whatever, you know, like a CGC or something,
Yeah.
you know, is so small in regard to the amount of time where you're just living your life.
Right.
You know?
We do want to find some sort of sport or something he likes. We're doing a what's it called? Happy Ratters workshop at New England Canine
Yeah,
Athlete.
I saw an ad for that. That's going to be fun.
Because we think he'd like it. I mean, he's probably not going to do any sort of sport or anything like that because we were talking earlier. He had hip dysplasia when he was only a puppy at 6 months old.
That's brutal.
Yeah, it was rough. But so he's not gonna be doing any contact sport, I guess, anytime soon. He's just not built for that.
Yeah.
He's only we like I said, hip dysplasia, 6 months old. We got the surgery 4 months ago, and there's a bilateral femoral head ostectomy, I think is what it is, FHO. And it was the right call to make because his hips were no bueno.
Yeah.
And
Can you talk a little bit about that? Because I know what it is, but it's something that happens to dogs and it's like kind of a kiss of death. So I think
so from what I learned about it, and you think I would have retained anything from my vet assistant course we were talking about earlier, but yeah, exactly. Whoops. Obviously I've heard about it and whatnot. But essentially it's just kind of when the hips just don't fit in the socket,
right,
is like the layman's terms to put it. And like, there's nothing you can really do to make them go back in. So the options were to get the femoral head ostectomy, which is where they literally cut the head and neck of the femur off, and then the muscles would create kind of a false joint around his hips and just kind of keep him there, or to wait until he was full grown and get a hip replacement. And neither were cheap options, and neither were enjoyable to even think about, and having to know that like he's going to be kind of bummy his whole life now.
right.
But I mean, we ended up going with the bilateral FHO because we didn't want to make him wait until he was full grown, you know, almost 2 years living with crap hips for so long,
right,
and just wobbling around all day and not really having any kind of quality of life until he was 2.5, 3-ish, because it takes a while to recover. So yeah, we did the bilateral FHO, and the doctors crushed it. They did a wonderful job, and we did PT with him as soon as we could. And that helped a ton. I mean, his physical therapist, Jackie at VCA was amazing. Super cool person. She's a trainer herself. She's been around dogs forever. She's super cool. We would chit chat all the time when we were doing the water treadmill and such. But yeah, she helped us out a ton. But we put in our work here too. I mean, being a dog trainer, I know I can't just go to you once a week and he's going to be fixed. It's what matters is in between.
Right.
We had to come here and do the exercises ourselves, and we did. He couldn't really walk that well for a while, but he's doing so much better now. I mean, he's just happily sleeping over there, snoozing with all his feet organized in his face.
Yep.
And he's just being a good boy. But yeah, it was a long road, and he's still recovering. Like I said, it's only been 4 months.
Right.
It feels like much longer because
probably takes time for the muscle growth to get.
Takes twice as long. And as the PT person explained to us, he never really had that muscle to begin with. He's only 6 months old. And then, I mean, we noticed it at 6 months old, at least. Could have been happening before.
Right.
And I think that speaks a lot of importance too about watching your dog and knowing your dog.
Yep.
So
yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, being able to tell if something's a little bit off.
Something was up. Like, again, we were talking before Mike's came on, but we knew something was up. He was limping a bit, kind of wrote it off as like, maybe some growing pains. He pulled a little something at daycare today. We'll wait a day or two, see how it goes. Just never got any better. And we brought him in as soon as we realized, like, yeah, he's still kind of not doing well. And brought him outside one time, and he like just went down the steps and just kind of fell and collapsed. We were like, okay, we're bringing him in.
Yeah.
And yeah, from there on.
Got some x-rays.
Yep.
Showed up right on the x-ray, right?
Oh yeah, you could tell.
You could see them.
You could tell. Yeah, it was like again, you don't have to have a degree to be like, those hips are fucked up.
Yeah, I had, I'm friends with people that breed German Shepherds and in a couple of groups online that have, like rescues and such. And they oftentimes will, advocating for good breeding, they'll put up x-rays of a dog that has hip dysplasia where like one hip will be like kind of okay. And then the other one will be like not okay at all. And it's probably the best visual that a layman person can see because it's so obvious.
It's so obvious.
Okay, the bone is not in the thing.
It's not even remotely in his socket. That's gotta hurt. Definitely.
So it's an important thing. And also if you are going to purchase a dog, just to make sure that the breeding dogs have those health clearances.
Right.
Or it's an important piece of the puzzle.
I mean,
some breeds are really susceptible to it too, but obviously you rescued him. So why would he have x-rays before?
Right.
You know,
we don't have his parents' papers. You know, we don't know his history.
Yes.
His history is us. You know what I mean? I mean, like genetic history.
Right. Yeah. No. And there's no reason if he wasn't showing any signs of it that the rescue would even.
Yeah. Exactly. And what are they going to know at 12 weeks?
And half the time, the foster, sometimes if they're a new foster or whatever, like. It's very overwhelming. So even little things,
but I mean, like
might not notice.
We lived with them for 2 months before that.
Yeah, and you didn't even.
We had no idea until it really was happening. So, I mean, it's fine. He's good now. He's happy. He's content.
Yeah, totally.
And now I just care about like what, like you say, what blows your dog's hair back.
Mm-hmm.
We're still kind of trying to figure that out.
Yep.
He likes just hanging out and living with us and being a good boy. He loves going to daycare. He has a great time there. That's probably his favorite thing to do. Just go there and see his friends and play and train and be a good boy.
Yep.
So as long as he's happy and content, I'm happy and content.
Nice.
So, but like I said, do want to try to find something. And I feel like, I mean, he was listed as a lab hound mix. So
he looks like a pet, huh?
Yeah. Right. Exactly. He's got the big pity face and like maybe some pointer in him because he's getting some freckles and whatnot. But yeah, so
he's a sweetie.
He is.
So do you do private classes with your clients as well?
Yep, I do offer private lessons. Not necessarily with my daycare clients. If they need it, then yeah, for sure. But we're kind of working on stuff there as well. And I tell them, like, if you ever need something or if I feel like something's going to creep up and you could use some help, I'll let you know. And if we don't, want to do a lesson, let's do a lesson. But yeah, I do offer private lessons as well to just,
people
other
who are struggling with
XYZ. I don't really do much in aggression just because I know I'm not ready for that. I've only really been like training and like on my own for a year and a half.
Right.
So I have so much more to learn.
Right. Hey, man, you're smart.
Hey, thanks. I'll take that. I'll take that.
You're smart because it's funny. I do feel bad for some people that get into dog training and their foray is in aggression.
Yeah.
Like maybe they work for a company that does a lot of board and trains,
right,
and they are with crazy, crazy dogs. It's hard because you have this toolkit that is protecting you from getting killed. And so then you go to apply that to a friendly dog and it doesn't really work out the same way. I've found that it's been to my benefit big time to work opposite. I was saying this to you as well, but when I talked to Sam, we talked about this too, but working with friendly dogs, just learning how to mark and reward behaviors, how to build behavior, how to build motivation.
It goes so far.
Yeah, it really does, because then you can take all those skills and when you do have an aggression case, work them into that case and not have to, you can be much more clear with the dog.
Right, because you actually understand basics of training at least, rather than just, put a prong collar on her when she barks, correct the fuck out of her.
Right, yeah.
Like, sorry, are we allowed to swear?
Yes,
sorry.
Of course. No, totally. And I have just kind of started to work with aggressive dogs.
Mm-hmm.
I shouldn't say started. I've been working with aggressive dogs for a while. But the human aggressive dogs, we do refer those out. Laurie's been doing this for a long time, and she's just like, I'm just tired. I'm just tired of it.
And that's fine. Yeah. It's smart even.
I know.
I don't feel like potentially getting bit today.
Yeah, I know. So, and things happen and we're not, we don't willingly turn people away. And if it's something that is very clear what the cause is.
Yeah.
And very clear, like a resource guarding thing. Like, you know, we definitely will work with somebody who's dealing with that.
Right.
You know, if an owner gets bit because they, you know, there's a resource, like, okay, like we'll help you out. But you know, true, like crazy aggression,
like barely even getting the door.
Yeah.
Aggression.
It's you know, that's a hard thing. And
for sure.
And I think that, if you're not ready for it, there's no point. And you know, money, it's this weird thing about it. It's green. So if it's a nice dog or a crackhead dog, you know, it's the same.
You can spend everyone's money the same.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. So, spend it all the same.
So yeah, I think it's really smart.
Thanks. Yeah, I mean, a lot of it just comes, like I said, I know I'm not ready for that. So I'm not going to be like, you know, super tough guy and get bit and, you know, just to inflate my own ego. No,
right.
I'm not going to do that. Guess we'll use smart, like you said, but yeah, just not worth it.
Yep.
And sometimes, I mean, it just kind of takes self-awareness and realizing I couldn't do that. I got other friends that I know can do that for sure. My one friend, Brittany, she specializes in that stuff. She loves that stuff. So whenever, you know, I get kind of a referral or anything like that for aggression, I'm like, not me. Certainly not me. I got somebody else. You can call them for sure.
Yeah, we have the same relationship with Liz. And Liz is crazy, and she's not a young woman. She's, you know, had been around for a long time, but she is fearless. Like, she's not afraid.
Right.
And I'm like, God bless you, woman.
Right.
Like, you know, we give it so well, and it's almost like, it's just, she's so inspiring. But yeah, when we have a dog that just needs a reboot, you know, we have him call Auntie Dog up in Tewksbury, and
it's good to have that network, though.
It really is.
Because I mean,
it really is.
Even if you could and you did want to take on all those dogs, it's like you got to factor in time. You have enough time to even make those things happen.
Right.
You put in the time necessary for that dog to make actual change.
Yep.
Rather than just be looking at your watch all the time or listening to your alarm to go to the next appointment.
Yep.
So, got to have referrals, and there's no shortage of dogs out there.
Yeah, no, definitely not. And it's been, and I think the cool thing too is when you kind of have a few friends that are trainers, you want to mix up the personalities and the skills.
Yep.
And I was saying this before, but the same trainer can tell you the same thing, but if it's not delivered in a way that you're ready to hear or that's clear to you, it's not going to make sense to you.
Yeah.
So you have to find somebody, if you are looking for a trainer, that you can kind of connect with on that level. Like I was saying to you before with Laurie, she's super funny.
Yeah.
So a lot of times when she's talking to a couple or like a couple with a kid or something like that, you know, she cracks a joke and like everybody's laughing so hard, you know?
Yeah.
But she can still get the message across as far as what needs to be done with training.
That's
and
an important skill to have.
Yeah. And then like I steal my lines from her.
You got to start. I mean, why not?
Yeah. I went on like 100 private lessons with her before I did my own, like literally.
Yeah.
Like 100. So I do use this very similar phrases. Like I've put my own touch on some stuff.
Yeah, I mean, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with sounding like everyone else in the beginning, especially from who you learned from.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what you know.
Yeah,
that's just what you've heard on repeat 100 times or more.
Yep.
So you do that going in, and then, like you said, put your own spin on it.
Totally. I also wanted to talk to you because I noticed that you're in the Consider the Dog group.
Yeah, that's funny that you say that, actually, because I remember like when I started listening to your podcast, I'm like, why does that name sound so damn familiar? Like Leah Lodato. Where have I heard that? And then it just struck me one day. I forget how, but you like posted something and Consider the Dog or something like that. Or I think I went on Facebook and just typed it in because I'm like, that name was like ringing in my head. And then I saw that you were part of it, and I was like, "Oh, that's got to be it."
Yeah, you see, I thought the exact same thing about you. I love that group.
It's amazing.
Yeah,
it's
I love
so
that
good.
group. I love that. Like, I don't agree with a lot of the things that,
and that's fine.
Are a lot of the techniques that they use. Like I've watched all the videos. I just think it's great that like people at all different levels can ask questions, and they're not made to feel dumb.
Nope.
But yeah, it's been, no worries. It's been a great like resource, and I love that they do lives, like Q&A lives and stuff. I don't really get to tune into them live, but I oftentimes will go back.
Yeah, you can go back and watch it.
Yeah, watch them. I think that that's really cool because it's so to me, like it's a really organic group. And there's
a-
all different levels, all different techniques.
It feels like a true like community.
Yes.
Everyone's there to help everyone.
Yep. And I also feel like with the e-collar stuff, it's been nice to see different, like to just be able to have the long form e-collar series.
Yes.
So like, you know, you go on,
ones?
yeah. I mean,
they're great
and
series.
it's long, you know,
It's
like to
wicked
get
long.
through is long, but it's worth it because it's like you learn so much about the way that it works, and you know that it's coming from a good source,
right?
You know,
The
so you don't
first,
have to like wonder, like, is this just like a crappy YouTube something or other,
right?
Because Laurie doesn't use the e-collar like at all.
Mm-hmm.
She knows how to, but it's just not part of her training program. So when I started doing all the off-leash stuff with the dogs, I quickly was like, I need more control because like these woods are like the wild friggin' west.
I need some security.
Yeah, exactly. I can't, like, I don't want my dogs ever running
Especially
up on anybody.
when it's like, if you're doing like client dogs, that's a big risk for like to lose someone else's dog. For them to get hurt.
And for me, it's not like losing them. Like I don't hike anyone I'm gonna lose, but it's more like the people are crazy. They have crazy dogs. They have crazy kids. Their kids are screaming.
Yep.
You know, I want to be able to have as much control as humanly possible to keep everybody safe. Is what it came down to, and I already knew like a lot about it, and I was really successful with it, but having that resource has been like kind of the cherry on top, I think, of the experience for me. So that is
a good
really
series
cool.
though. You're right. Cause like the first like 5-6 videos, he doesn't even work a dog on the e-collar. It's just him talking about like the importance of it and like what it is and what it isn't.
Right.
And like you said, you're like, is this just a crappy video? Like what's going on? And you get into the nitty gritty of it and you're like, oh, this was worth it.
Yeah. Totally.
Oh, this was worth it.
Well, cause he demonstrates a lot.
Right.
And that's the hard part about, I think, dog training videos in general is that it's, you know, it's hard to demonstrate because it happens very slow, regardless of what it is that you're doing. And also, when I first started training, Laurie said, "You're not allowed, like, don't watch any videos. Don't listen to what anybody says. Like, it's you and me. I'm going to teach you what you need to know." So, okay.
That's I think that's smart.
Yeah. And then once I was like, okay, I want to learn this thing that, you know how to do, but you're not actively doing because you have your reasons.
Yep.
You know, then I started to kind of look elsewhere, I guess. And that, is one of the subscriptions that I'm glad that I pay for.
It's totally affordable.
Yeah. It's $15 a month. And I mean,
come on.
It's, if for no other reason, like I don't consume a lot of like videos and stuff because I have a way that we train. But if, you know, and also to have a support community, like I know you posted, you know, things that are tough to deal with on your own, you know, and to be able to have other people that you're able to have that sounding board.
Right. And sometimes it's almost better for it to be complete strangers.
Yes.
Because they're just going to be honest.
Yes.
They don't care. They do, but they don't. You know what I mean?
Yes.
They're like, we don't have that relationship where if I say something, I might hurt your feelings. I'm going to give it to you straight. Right. And that's what you're looking for other professionals or even just people that have gone through the same thing you're asking about.
Right.
So.
But I think if you're in a more sports specific group and you ask the type of questions that they're asking and consider the dog, they're like, oh my gosh, they're going to freaking kill you.
Yeah.
They're going to make you feel so dumb, you know, but you know, that's not kind of what it's for, I guess. And so to me, it's very cool to see, you know, a decent number of people coming from different walks of training life, and a lot of pet owners, I think, as well. But that's been a nice resource. And I think I mentioned it last time Laurie and I did a podcast, but I do pay for that subscription and I probably will continue to. It's great.
Absolutely.
It's great.
I won't cancel it anytime soon. The best thing about it, I think, is that Facebook group. Like you can just post anything and people will just, you know, bombard you with answers or tips or anything. And it's totally worth it. Yep. And like you said, nobody's judging anyone ever.
Well, if they are, they're not writing it, which is really nice. Yeah,
that's true. That's true. That's a good point.
And I find that there's also a decent amount of moderators that know what they're doing.
Right.
So that's key as well. So if somebody doesn't chime in with something that's useful, you know, those
just hurtful.
Those people kind of come in and give some advice that's like, you know, you can tell like, okay, this is tried and true.
Yeah.
So I think that's pretty cool.
I like what you were saying though, or Lori told you, like, don't watch any videos.
Oh my
nothing.
God. Yeah.
Because I feel like sometimes I do my best work when I'm not consuming a ton of content myself.
I do terrible when I'm consuming a ton of content.
You get paralysis through analysis.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
You take in so much and so many different 15-second TikToks and reels, and you're just, even if you don't actively consume it, you're still subconsciously consuming it, and it's in your brain somewhere.
Yep.
So, I mean, sometimes it's nice to just get off social media and just call it quits and just be like, I'm just going to work this dog right here. And I'm not even going to bring my phone with me. I don't care at all. I'm just going to work this dog, this person, to do my thing and get on with my day.
And that's how you learn, right? It's just that cold, hard time.
Right.
And that's to me, the difference between this like world of social media that we're living in and the dog training that's actually happening in my yard.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like, it could not be more different. I'm freaking sorry. Unless you have somebody with a video camera, like following you around.
Yeah.
You know, and I remember somebody that had a ton of dog training experience and had posted a question like, oh my God, I'm getting this new puppy. Like, what puppy training method should I use? And I remember Laurie just being like, get that clicker, get the food, get moving.
Yeah.
and I'm like, oh my God, you're so right. But like, books have been written on puppy training and puppy rearing.
You can find 500 different ones.
Exactly. So for somebody that has never had a puppy before or has trained other people's puppies, but like don't have theirs, and they're like, oh my God, like I don't want to mess up this puppy. You know, all of a sudden they're like, what book do I read to have a method for training a puppy? Do I put a leash on the puppy? Do I not put a leash? Do I use a harness? Do I use a collar? Do I use a flexi lead? Do I use a long line? And it's like, you get into this like feedback loop, and then all of a sudden, like, you're not actually training your dog.
You're just bouncing back and forth, wondering how to train your dog.
Yeah, or you're trying something one day, and then the next day you're trying something new.
Yep.
So like with Rhonda, I was like, I am training this dog the way we know how to train. And that's it.
And that's it.
Yeah, she's doing awesome.
Great.
You know, so the only difference I think is, like Laurie, like I said, is very much into obedience, and I'm very much into obedience too, because like, I got to tell you, I don't care if my dog can retrieve. If they don't come when they're called, they're blowing out the door. Like, I don't care. Like, that's what I need them to. I need them to be good at listening to me.
Right.
For safety and for like all other reasons.
Right.
You know, and I'm not going to emphasize play. I'm not, no. I mean, I'm going to do it, and we're going to have fun, and it's going to be great. And she loves picking up stuff in her mouth. It's going to be wonderful, and hopefully she'll be great at retrieving and stuff. But, you know, that's not the majority of what I'm doing with this dog. Like, we're doing sits and downs and recalls in place and all that other stuff, and I'm letting her have fun too. But, you know, that's like really important to me.
Definitely.
And man, if you go online, it's like, wow, they're a puppy.
Your puppy must
imprint
sit
this,
before
that, and
you put their food bowl down.
Or like, you just play with the puppy. Don't do any obedience, because the puppy doesn't learn how to heel, because when they grow, they're going to learn to, and it's like, you get so jumbled.
It's so jumbled.
So I was just like, screw that. Training this puppy, like putting the leash on the dog, like, let's go.
Yep.
And she's doing great, you know, and I'm sure that I'm going to make mistakes, and
how could you not?
Yeah, exactly. But
how could you not?
It's already going smoother than with Ruben. I'll tell you that.
Well, that's good. I mean, that means you learn from your mistakes, I suppose, right?
Yeah. Well, she was younger than Ruben, and this dog screamed for 5 weeks straight in the crate. And I was like, oh my, not in the crate, but at night, she was waking up like between 3 and like 6 times a night for...
That's a lot.
Yeah, it was a lot until she was about 12 weeks. So like 1 month, like a solid month of like no sleep, which isn't as bad as like having a newborn. Totally get it.
Right.
Totally. I'm not comparing it to those of you guys that have kids. Like, I know that stuff is way harder. But yeah, just having to like get up and work. Like, there were some days where I was like, oh my God, like I was up all night, and now I have to walk get up all day.
And work again. Great.
So yeah, that was rough. But once they hit like that 12-week mark,
we got Wally at 12 weeks and kind of hoofed it from there. I mean,
did he even ever get up?
No, honestly, no.
Neither did Ruben. He was probably like 12, 13, and he never got up.
Like, he's a well-behaved dog, and he's a good boy, and he's well-trained, but like, honestly, we take like 5% credit for that. He's just naturally a good boy. Like,
naturally laid
the
back.
First night here, like, we knew he was fine with the crate. We left it open. He was jumping in it and whatnot when we first brought him home. But like, we were like, okay, he's going to be sleeping in the crate. That's happening the first night we're here. We just sat in his little room over there, with the crate door open for probably 30 minutes. We didn't prompt him or nothing. We kind of more just sat there and ignored him until he was like, you guys are boring. Crawled in the crate. We just closed the door and off we went to bed. I mean, he's been perfect since. Again, we just got lucky.
Yeah, he's a good boy.
I don't know what to like tell people. They're like, how'd you crate train him? I'm like, I didn't. I really didn't. He just went in the crate and he was like, this is fine. And like, now he's good. And now like, we don't even need to leave him in the crate all the time now. We come home, he's just chilling on the couch, or he's got a bed in our bedroom.
Yep.
Now we even just let him sleep outside the crate in the bedroom, not in our bed. We tried that one night. Not great.
Yeah,
he took up the whole bed. He just took up the whole bed. I was just like, dude, I need my space. I love you, but come on. So now he just sleeps on his bed right next to our bed. But in the morning after he goes out for the first time, he comes back in for some snuggles.
Yeah.
That's his favorite part. And that's fine. I'll snuggle you for a half hour.
Yep.
But I'm not sleeping with you. That was miserable.
Yeah. We've had, Buddha likes to get into the bed. And he was at like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
He really likes affection. Like, he's not a normal Rottweiler, but at all. I mean, they like affection. He really craves it, but it's like, I don't mind it. Like, I'm like you, like, I don't mind, like, a little bit is okay, but like,
I need my sleep and my space.
I need my beauty sleep.
Yep.
Like, I can't be doing this.
Nope.
I'm lucky my Ruben, he likes a nice bed with a blanket.
Yep.
So if I like tuck him in at night, he just sleeps.
It's like, you'll find me here in the morning.
Yeah, totally. It's going to be brutal when Rhonda gets older. Her energy level and Ruben's is not meshing at all. She's just so like in his face, and he is, he tolerates, but he's so uncomfortable, and I'm very in tune with him.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, I don't let that keep going, because I don't want him to be kind of backed into a corner. And, I'm just like, dude, just walk away. Like, I don't understand what's the big deal. Why are you frozen in fear of this little puppy,
Yep.
But he is who he is. So we try to monitor, but I went on a hike with the two of them this week. So that was good.
Nice.
And yeah, he was just so far ahead of her that she didn't even care because she gets pooped.
Yeah.
Like, she's little still.
Yeah, she's got tiny little legs.
Yeah. And then I take him to the field together, and that's awesome.
Playing the Frisbee and whatnot with him. I see that all the time. He loves that, doesn't he?
Yeah. Ruben, he's nuts for that Frisbee. Oh my God. Yeah, he's crazy. I'm actually going to work with Hannelore from Boston for the Dogs.
Okay,
we're going to do some disc stuff with some of her clients because she has a very active client group. So I'm heading to her place tomorrow after we do Toss and Fetch League, and we're gonna just kind of survey the land and see, because the Frisbee stuff is like totally saved, not saved our relationship, but it's totally given him an outlet for something to do that he really likes, and then
said something that pulls your dog's hair back. Yeah,
and I mean, he's competitive with the other breeds that are supposed to be really good,
right? Quote unquote built for that.
Oh my God, yeah, like the Border Collies and the Australian Shepherds and stuff. He's definitely not directional, so if I throw, I kind of have to be it takes him a while. Like some dogs, like, okay, you throw and then you turn around, throw a different direction, and they're right there with you. He's not really like that, but for the long game, he does pretty well. So I can't complain. He's talented at that, and he likes it. So that's the most important part.
Right, exactly.
And I like it too, because I like throwing.
Exactly. I think that's also important. If your dog's having fun, but you're kind of not having fun.
Yeah, or you suck at throwing.
Right.
Like some people do.
Right.
And like they'll just be there and be like, I'm terrible at this. I'm just like, oh my God. You
just got to keep practicing.
But you just have to practice.
Yeah, you just got to keep doing it.
It's really the only sport I can think of where like the success is contingent on the handler's like skill. I don't know if that makes sense. Like obedience, you have to be skillful, but it's more what you teach your dog outside of the ring.
Right.
And when you go in, like your dog knows like how hard is it to walk forward? You know what I mean?
Right.
And then like turn around and walk back. But with Frisbee, if you can't throw, like your dog can't catch.
True.
You're going to be terrible at it. So it's really tough. And then like on top of that, you have all these people watching you.
Talk about pressure.
Yeah, so I feel it too. Like I do my like Navy SEAL breathing before I go out, like calm down that I can, be, because it's kind of like sporty. But I played like ultimate Frisbee just for fun a lot in high school because I didn't play sports. I was like a weird kid.
So was I.
Yeah, like playing Frisbee and bare feet after school instead of like soccer or whatever.
That sounds like my summer
doing.
now at 29. Sounds like exactly what I'm going to do in like 4 weeks.
Yeah. Anyway, this was awesome, Alex. Thank you so much for sitting with me today.
Of course.
If somebody's interested in reaching out to you for training, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
They can find me on Instagram at Tailwind Dog Training,
Cool.
or you can just find me in your neighbor's yard training their dog.
Yeah, there we go. All right, cool. Well, thank you, Alex. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. If you're into what you hear, please rate and review the podcast on the platform you're listening on. It helps it reach more people. And if you have any questions or suggestions, shoot me a message. I am all ears, but we will see you next time.
Thank you.